Good morning. It's Friday morning. I'm Rob Levine from Rob Levine and Associates, and we're doing our Thoughtful Thursday rant today on Friday. So I thought I would talk to our business owners out there about the Paycheck Protection Program. So as I'm sure you know, a second round of funds has been authorized by our government in the amount of $320 billion for round two of the Paycheck Protection Program. So two things that I want to address. The first is obviously you should be on top of your bank and making sure your application is already in and that they're processing it. The funds, the $320 billion is going to go super fast. It'll probably be gone by even maybe the end of today or Monday at the latest. Then we'll have to see whether or not they do round three. If they're doing round three and you don't qualify it for round two, make sure you get all your paperwork in and it's already there for your loan to submit the minute they authorize funds. So what is the Paycheck Protection Program? Obviously it's money that the government has given in order to give money to businesses tax-free for the loss that we're suffering during COVID. So you take, let's say 2019, your average payroll over that period of the year 2019, payroll is defined as wages paid plus life, health, and pension benefits. For anyone making over $100,000 in salary, they're capped at $100,000. You can, however, there's a lot of big questions as to how you interpret the document. You can, for sure, add to the $100,000 on top of that cap. You can add the life, health, and pension benefits that as the employer you're paying for that. So you're going to take that for 2019 plus rent or interest on mortgage payments, not principal, as well as your utilities. The entire amount for 2019 and divide by 12 gives you your average for the year. Multiply that by 2.5. That would have created your maximum loan amount. Then they approve your maximum loan amount and then you have to use it. From the day you get funded, you have 8 weeks to use those funds. In that 8-week period, you're obviously paying your payroll, again, the exact same definition. It's wages paid, capped at $100,000, plus life, health, and pension benefits that as the employer you're paying, as well as rent and utilities during that 8-week period. At the end of the 8 weeks, you should have used up your maximum loan amount. 75% of the money you used must be used towards payroll. So if you exceed the 75% number, you're all set. If you're less than the 75% number, it's not a cliff saying that you don't have loan forgiveness. It's going to reduce in percentage-wise to the amount that you are using for less than 75%. But the goal, of course, is to use the 75%. So let's assume that you borrowed $100,000 was your loan amount, and you spent $75,000 on payroll, and the other $25,000 you used in the other costs, so you used the full $100,000. That's one bucket that we're going to look at for loan forgiveness. The second bucket is the head count, the number of employees that you had either in 2019 as your average or from January 1st to February 15th of 2020. You take the average head count in that 6-week period. Then we look at how many people you have during the covered payroll period. So between February 15th to June 30th, or any period in there that you're measuring up to June 30th. What do I mean by that? You have, even though so let's say you have 100 employees and you laid off 20, you now have 80. If you never call any of those employees back to work at any point during the covered period up to June 30th, there's going to be a 20% reduction to the loan forgiveness because you've reduced your staff by 20%. If you filled the first bucket, meaning you used 100% of the maximum loan amount, which was $100,000, you laid off 20 people and didn't call them back, $80,000 is going to be your loan forgiveness because we're going to reduce it by 20%. If you call them back to work, and you call them back to work by June 30th, so even they weren't used to be paid during the loan amount period, but they were recalled to work by June 30th, then you're all set. That's the day that you have to have restored your workplace number of people, head count, back to its original number. If any percentage less than the original number is the amount of your loan amount that's not going to be forgiven in a percentage reduction. The big question that remains that nobody seems to know the answer to because it's really not in the act is how long do you have to keep your employees once they return to work? Well, nobody knows that answer. So I expect between now and June 30th, the SBA is going to continue to come out with guidance covering all sorts of questions, because there are a number of questions in the Act that people really don't know the answer to, as far as how reduction of taxes and credit on what taxes you can get and all sorts of other things. Can you bring back family members? For instance, you let 20 people go. Can 5 people who weren't on your payroll, who are your family members, can you call them back to get your head count and employ them to work for you, because now they've been laid off from their job? Under the Act, my answer is yes, you can hire anyone back you want. It doesn't have to be the same people that you let go and put on unemployment. So I would say you are covered. The question will be whether the SBA changes their guidance and the rules from what the Act was originally. The Act has already had 2 or 3 different interim pieces come out since it was originally designed, changing and creating different specific programs for how the bank is controlled for guidance and how you have to apply. So that's it for today. If you have questions, I can tell you that I've been giving guidance to law firms across the country, probably 75 law firms, many of whom have already been funded. So I'm happy to answer your questions. My email address is rob@roblevine.com. I have taken probably half a dozen seminars on the PPP program. We've applied for the PPP program. We've received funds under it. So I know the Act well. We're working with different accountants and different bankers, helping them put the program together for their clients. So feel free to reach out to me if you have questions, and I'm more than happy to help you. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. Please share.